So as you can tell from the title of this video, you are not falling behind, and falling behind is actually a myth created and implanted in you by the powers that be, who are of course billionaires that feed off your insecurity and need to super produce at your expense and their benefit. So we're going to get into it. And I just want to offer my own perspective as someone who's had my own journey with being productive my whole life and even overproductive to my own detriment, and growing from that and being a part of my own healing journey, my process. And before we do get started, I just want to let you know, you'll probably be able to hear my family in the background because they're talking. This is still very experimental for me. And I do record in quiet spaces whenever I can, but I'm not always able to get that. So I'm calling it out before you do, before you get a chance to. With that being said, I want to start with why we feel the need we have to stay productive to ever feel like we're behind if we don't in the first place. Right? No, I do believe that this is very intentional, very purposeful, and it is baked into the structure of our lives. Everything is on a time scale from the time we're born up into really most of our lives, up until I would say the midlife crisis point. We are born and we need to be able to walk and talk by a certain time, or we're seen as less developed. From there, we go to school and we have our 12 years of grade school plus, pre-K and kindergarten, and you have to graduate by 18, and you have to graduate college by 22, and you need to have a really good foot into your career by 25, 26, where you're starting to move up. And by the time you're 30, you need to have a wife and kids. And if you're really not on the home ownership path just yet, then you're probably behind at this point, right? This is baked into the structure of our everyday lives, so it's really hard to get away from it unless you're a free thinker. And that really doesn't come from nowhere, being more free thinking, avoiding the structure, breaking away from society. I think that it takes a certain type of life experience that, not everyone goes through, unfortunately. But if it wasn't baked into our structure, I don't think that we would be in such a crisis of people who feel like they're falling behind, people who are 21 with a net worth of 300,000, and they see people and feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not going hard enough. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you don't believe me, check the comments of some of these finance videos. You might even find them under a finance Call of Duty YouTubers finance videos. It is seriously the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard, of people being like 19 and they're saying I have $30,000 saved up, but because I'm not where I want to be, like I feel like I'm falling behind. Look at these two boosters, or maybe someone was camping as tech, but either way, man, come on, it's 2026. Anyways, I really think that a big part of this also, on top of the structure of our lives, is the fact that we are in the most digital era that we've ever been in. And it's only going to continue to get more digital, less private, until it's really going to be hard to tell what's real and what's not anymore. And for a lot of people, it's already to that point. They don't know what's real and what's not in someone's life. Instagram and TikTok are full of the highlights of people's lives, but not the lowlights. And not that it should be, but people take what they see at face value. They don't recognize or remember the fact that someone lives an entire life off of this app. And yeah, I camped this person's tech, but it was only for a few seconds before I destroyed it. So I'm going to need you to stay focused, okay? Anywho, because of this social media that we have all this access to and the boundaries that people refuse to set, you feel like you know what's going on in everyone's life. And what a lot of people fail to realize or recognize is empathy is important. You don't know what this person has going on in their life, and this thing that they have that you want, you don't know what it took for them to get that. You don't know what they're currently going through, or what they had to sacrifice, or what they might go through in the future because they have this thing that you don't have. They have it could be money. Someone could be a millionaire at 18, and you want the money, but you don't know what they sacrificed to get there. You don't know what type of family upbringing that you were allowed to have that they weren't allowed to have. You have no clue what type of mental stressors they go through to have this money. You just want the thing that they have without having or without doing what it took to get where they are, essentially. And the same thing goes for how people feel about you. You might have a wonderful family life, and someone looks at the pictures of you and your family and thinks that everything is good. Or you might look at the picture of someone's family and think everything is good, and you want the family life that they have, but outside of Instagram, they hate each other and they never really smile unless it's for pictures. You seriously never know what's going on in someone's life. So when you think about being behind, think about what you're comparing it to, because behind is a comparative word. You might be behind on money, but compared to who? Compared to what? You have no real basis to compare these things off of, because you should only be comparing your life to your life. You might be behind on money making based on what society says about you, but are you really behind based on your life? You really can't be, because you're only living this life for the first time. So you can't be behind if you're not comparing yourself to other people. Just some food for thought there. And as far as like, how you see other people's lives and you might have some of the things that they want, seriously have gratitude for where you are and what your current blessings are. Because I'll say it again, you have no clue what somebody else is going through behind closed doors, what someone is going through when they turn the app off, when they stop posting on their feed or on their stories. So just think about what you are going through and what your current situation is, and have gratitude for that. And the more you do that, and I know it sounds simple, but the more you do it, the more you have gratitude and the less that you feel behind, because you are only in control of the things that happen in your life. And a lot of times you don't even have control of that when you really think about it. You can only be responsible for the things that you can control. But so many things happen that are outside of your control that is ridiculous. So next steps, if I may present them to you, is to be present in the moment. It is good to have a plan and goals and to want to achieve things, absolutely. But be flexible to changes in your life, because you can't control everything. You are not the ruler. You are not the owner of this universe. So you are never going to truly be behind as long as you are living in your life and in your truth. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to talk to you in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.